guys, my name is Crystal. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome all subscribers, welcome new. If you like my videos, please press the like button and please do subscribe. It's a Thursday early evening. I'm back home in my flat and it is Wednesday. Right, Alexa, what's the time please?
The time is 4:51 p.m.
Right, let me sit down. I'm absolutely knackered. Not physically. Basically, my mum asked me if I would like to go up there today to Chatham to see my mum, which I have done. She phoned me this morning and said would I like to come up about 12 o'clock this afternoon. My mum arranged a taxi for me, which arrived outside the flats about 11:45, and I got into the taxi by myself in the back seat, and a very nice, quiet, polite driver drove me up to Durrell Gardens, right up to the top of the road where my mum came out. I paid the taxi driver. I paid the taxi driver inside the taxi, said goodbye to the taxi driver. My mum came out of the house and she wanted to wave to the taxi driver, so she waved bye-bye to the taxi driver. And then I went and sat down where my father used to sit near the French windows. My mum was by herself. She said that she'd seen Charlotte that morning, and Charlotte had gone and got some dog and cat food for me, which I do really appreciate, because I wasn't expecting to have cat and dog food. It's not my birthday Sunday, it's my mother's, Jennifer's, so I'm very grateful for the cat and dog food. I wasn't expecting that. It's my mum's birthday, she's 77, and on Thursday I'm going to be sending my mum a card and sending her a couple of presents. There's no point giving someone something right now when it's not their birthday, because they're tempted to use it, whatever, forget about it. So I'm sending my mum birthday presents later on tomorrow. So I got given a bag of cat and dog food, popcorn, crisps, biscuits, well, the usual what my mum gives me, which I'm very grateful for. Some nice kicking sweet chilli Smacker Jacks here. Some Butterkist crunchy popcorn, and the dentist told me not to eat sweet things yesterday. She told me don't eat a load of sweet things because they're bad for your teeth. So my mum's given me a lot of like bits and pieces like that. I put on my dad's Amazon Fire Stick, and I put on bits and pieces. I watched a piece on John Lennon and the Beatles. I put on a thing about the 50 most dangerous people in prison, because I'm into like psychology and stuff and how people's minds work, and I like to learn about real things that happen, real criminals, and the psychology behind why they do what they do. I've always been interested in that since I was a child, real crime. My nan used to read real crime stories as well, so I think that's where I've got it from. And I used to go to a lot of jumble sales as a kid. Because my father didn't like me to go out and mix with people, I used to pick up lots of books to read, and I could read by the time I was 4. So I just used to read and read and read about everything, because I used to sit in my room by myself. My dad would not let me mix with other people, so I would write and I would read. So I sat down and watched a load of stuff on YouTube, little bits and pieces. You can watch anything on YouTube, music and things like that. my mum was cleaning her flat out, so while she was talking to me, she was cleaning the flat out, and she was going on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And she didn't stop talking for about 4 hours. So I've had a bit of an ear bashing. I'm not cross, I'm not angry, but I hardly spoke a word. And my mum was speaking continuously on and off for 4 hours without having a break. And I just sat there. I sat there because I could have the door open, the cold air fan was on, and I actually felt cold. Just excuse me a moment. We have dog barking. Come on. I've got dog barking, which is starting my dog off, so I'm just going to retrieve Max. Come here, my baby. Come on. Just put my little chihuahua in. It's just a barrage of dog barking. It's downstairs. Every time someone walks past and their dogs are out, you'll hear dogs bark loudly. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's just you can hear it through the windows. Right, where was I? So my mum was talking. She actually did a bit of hoovering as well. She said she'd been outside of her flat and done a bit of gardening. So my mum's got a bit more active, which is good because she's nearly 77, and it would do her good to get outside and cut down some bushes and like talk to other people. So that's brilliant. I didn't see Charlotte. Charlotte had gone by the time I got round to see my mum. So I just let my mum speak, and I just sat there. I sat there, and it can make you weary and tired because it just does. When someone, she wanted to vent her feelings about my dad and about other people, and I'm trying to get on with other people. I haven't got a problem with other people. I'm just trying to live my life, interact, say hello to people, and not shy away from people and hide and just, I'm trying to like get away from the way my dad used to treat me and my mother. And it, you know, I'm enjoying myself. So I'm not against other people at all. I've got principles, and I won't stand in a room where someone is being racist or they're talking about someone in a derogatory manner. The thing about my mum is she's elderly, she's on her own a lot, and she's got hardly anyone to talk to, so she rants and she yells when she wants to get her point across, and it can actually really wear you out mentally. Right, so my mum gave me a piece of paper to write down a takeaway, and I always use Super Pizza. Super Pizza. And it's so funny because I order from Super Pizza, but I don't get a pizza. I got a lovely chicken burger with relish and mayo, and it was delicious. It tasted lovely, and I just wanted it to last longer. And I also got these cookies, these chocolate cookies, where I've got 2 left. And I've got some onion rings. I've also got some onion rings left. So I didn't eat all of it in one go. I ate the chicken burger and I ate the corn on the cob. I love corn on the cob. And corn on the cob is hard to eat, but I chewed it and I ate it, and the corn on the cob, very tasty. And I got a can of Diet Coke. Diet Coca-Cola. Right, so I'm happy. I'm okay. I've been round my mum's for hours. Although I've had a bit of an ear bashing, I've got out of this flat and I've been okay and I'm happy with myself. I haven't got a problem with myself at all. I'm happy with the way I am and I'm getting the confidence to speak to other people now, so that's it. So I sat with my mum hoovered, my mum ordered the takeaway for me. She said it was an elderly gentleman, an old man. She talked to the delivery driver and brought the takeaway into me, as she kept saying Jennifer doesn't order takeaways for herself. She does that as a treat for me. I never said, Mum, get me a takeaway. My mum came over with the takeaway leaflet. She gave me a bit of paper and told me to write what I wanted down. When my dad was alive, he was a very tight-fisted man and he didn't spend much money. So my mum is like using the money he left to help us both have a better life, I suppose, you could say. My mum gave me my dad's beer glasses. So my mum gave me my father Derek's beer glasses that he'd ordered from Amazon before he passed away. I don't drink beer, I don't drink alcohol, only occasionally. So I've got a set of 4 pint glasses that were my father's. My mum also tipped a bottle of my dad's brandy down the toilet and a bottle of ginger wine down the lavatory while I was there. I don't drink alcohol, so it doesn't matter to me. Whilst I was round my mother's, I, Crystal, had a message from my doctor's surgery saying the letter to Medway Council is ready to collect. And you know how much they're charging me for a letter to write to Medway Council about moving? £40. 40, not 14, not 15, not 20, £40. First of all, I want to look at the letter and see, what a £40 letter is, what it looks like. So, when I went to the doctors last week, he said he was drafting a letter to Medway Council to help me move out of my flat. He didn't tell me it was going to cost me 40 quid. £40? And now I've also got to fork out £55 for a dental hygienist visit. That's £100. £95. £40 for a few lines to write to Medway Council. It's appalling. 40 quid. A couple of months back, I was told it was 20. Now it's gone up to £40 for a letter. They wanted £20 a few months back. Now they want 40 quid off me to write a letter to the council to ask them to help me move out of here because it's not safe. That's disgusting. I got that whilst I was round my mum's. Even when I got that email when I was round my mum's, I didn't lose my temper with my mum. It's not my mum's fault, is it? So I just put that to one side, and before I pay £40 for a letter, it must be written in gold plated letters. It really must. Before I pay for that. Just the weight of the doctors. I could write a letter myself for nothing, but you need the weight of a doctor behind it. When I went to the doctor's years ago, I went to a really nice doctor and he wrote a letter for free for me. He wrote, and that did help me move out of my flat into a house. But I didn't pay 40 quid. They never made you pay for letters back then. It's disgusting. Everybody's short of money. £40 to have a letter written. It used to be 20. It's 40 quid. It's extortionate. So I left about 4:10, and my mum had been ranting on about her Asian mental health nurse, Ben. She said that Derek was friends with Ben. That's exactly what my mum said before I left. She said that Derek was friends with Ben. Derek, my dad, was. The taxi, very nice, very polite Asian young man, Sikh, with a Sikh headband on, and a black beard, very nice, very polite. Opened up the boot, I put my bags in the back, sat in the back. He drove me home, very quiet, very polite, drove me outside my flats. But my mum had ranted on for over 3 hours about everything and anything you can imagine. Derek being friends with Ben, Dad, my father being in prison, she talked about that. And I just sat there, I didn't say a word. It wasn't me speaking. It wasn't me ranting out loud for 3 hours. It was my mum. I just sat there quietly, and that's what my dad used to do. He actually used to put headphones over his ears. He used to put big black headphones over his ears because he said it drove him mad. It's not that she talks to herself, she just does not take a breath. And she'll continually speak for 3 hours with no rest. And you can't reply back, because when you reply back, you're shouted over and you can't speak back, so you just have to let her yell. And nobody knows what's going on behind the doors, because when my mum goes outside, she might see neighbours for 5 or 10 minutes, but they don't sit in a flat for hours. They don't sit in a flat for hours because they wouldn't be able to cope with it. I'm telling you now, they wouldn't be able to cope with it. I had a headache when I went up to my mum's, and I came back with a double headache. She's apologised for sounding off. She admitted over the phone she sounded off. And I've just come back feeling like double the headache. I'm not angry. I'd like to see all my kids. I'd like to see my grandchildren. I don't want to be in this funny soap opera that's been going on since 2008 when I came down. Her ranting on about Ben. Every time, and I used to get attacked outside, by the way. My mum used to rant on about Ben before I left Victoria Road, and I'd get attacked in shops and supermarkets. I just want to have a normal life. I want to settle down with somebody and have a normal life. I don't want this controlled crap, as I called it. I don't want this. My mum never used to rant like she does when I was a kid. She never used to talk out loud to herself for hours. No, she didn't. She was a normal mum, apart from the fact that she was doped down with drugs because she was diagnosed with schizophrenia. So she was dosed down with drugs. She didn't talk out loud to herself when I was a kid. And the thing is, when I came down in 2008, my mum was ranting out loud till 2 o'clock in the morning. driving me crazy. I don't know why she does it. Just continuously talks and talks and talks and talks and talks and talks. Not to a video camera, but out loud. And, you know, we used to get trouble outside Victoria Road after she started talking out loud. So, I mean, it just makes you wonder if people are listening to it. And it certainly wasn't me speaking. I have never been certified. I've never been in a mental hospital for 3 weeks. And I have never been under the care of a psychiatric team or a nurse. I suffer from anxiety and depression, and they won't treat me for a mental health illness because I've asked for help before, and they've told me that because I've explained that my father sexually abused me, they said it's no wonder that you feel and act the way you do, that you're angry and upset. They said, but it's not such a mental health illness. It's not schizophrenia. They've told me that to my face. It's stress, anxiety brought on by the way my father abused me as a child and growing up. And they sent me to the Rape Crisis Centre to get help. It's not a mental condition. Being abused by your father causes stress and things, but it's not schizophrenia. When I was coming home in the taxi, there was a bulldog van in front of the taxi, bulldog, and the various usual shit that goes on. It's been going on since 2010, 11, 12, when I used to come back home in taxis or walk home. When I lived at Lansdowne Court, I used to walk home and I used to smell cannabis on the way home, and then I'd get massive headaches and not be able to go out. I'd have a massive headache and have to go to bed because I'd walk home from Victoria Road and I'd have cannabis blown in my face. So I'm home now, I'm happy, but I want my freedom. I want a normal life. I don't want this controlled bollocks, as I call it. I should be able to settle down now and just live my life without all this controlled bullshit that goes on. I'm not 2 years old. One other thing, right? One other thing, I moved into a new flat, I had a new start, I have a shower and a bath almost every other day. So can we cut the bullshit out and treat me like a human being, not a rabid dog, thank you. See you later.